Morning. Nito. Nito. Since when have you been red? I thought you were not red. I'm not used to seeing red names in chat. I think like the only red I'm used to seeing is Magic. I haven't seen Magic in chat in a while. Nito's green for you? Oh, Nito doesn't pick a color, then. Chat, what color is Nito for you? Nito's gray for me. Hey! Nito's green for me. Me. Hey, wait a minute. I need a new desk. I don't need a new desk, I want a new desk. Which means I shouldn't get one. It's, this is a corner desk, and my mic is attached to the corner stand. I'd rather just get a giant... Well, I don't really have the room for it. Because I want to keep face up. My window's right here, and I want to keep the window by it all. But I want to just get not a corner desk anymore, but just a long desk. But then there's that... I think it's time we just got a new house. Maybe that's just the problem. I don't know. How are you guys today? New house diff? Yeah. Well, we built this house, so this house was new to us. And we've lived here for 8 years now. All coming up on 8 years. That's a long time. But it's not, I mean, this house is good, but we're just growing. We're growing. We lived the townhouse life for a long time. 2 years, 3 years in, no, 2 years in Kentucky. We lived in one, and I guess 2 years here. Townhouses are great. The rent in our first townhouse, which was a 2-story, 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath, just like the typical both bedrooms upstairs, the living room with the kitchen behind it downstairs. The rent on that was $485 a month, and this was back in 2011. $485 a month for like a 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath apartment in a good part of town, like the best part of town. Like 15 minutes from campus. There's no way. I would assume it's at least 800 now if we were to go back there. I would assume 800 is probably lowballing it. When we moved up here to Indy, we got the same, pretty much the same house, or same, like, setup, except it had a 1-car garage attached to it. That was $895 a month, I believe, and that, and water was included in both of those. We didn't pay for water. I don't know if that was just because it was like a 4 unit and like a 4 different apartment unit and they just didn't want to divide up the water, but like we still had to pay utilities and stuff, but we never had a water payment. Spent about $900 on rent. That seems about right for nowadays. But our mortgage is like less than that. And we gotta we built this house. It's 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 2.5 bath, flex room, and our mortgage is less. Our mortgage is what our rent was in our townhome. We built this house. Is it build it on rock and roll or built it for rock? We built this city. I always thought it was we built this city of rock and roll, but we built it on rock and roll. That's fair enough. I always thought it was built it of this city of rock and roll. I don't know. I'm not much of a city builder. I would always make a city in Sim City and then call forth the giant tentacle monster to destroy everything. Whatever that was. It is on. Civil engineer. City manager. By the way, that made me think of the city manager that was called her or whatever. If there's... Nah. I only got 1 minute left. Can't start that tangent. Hi, Rooster. Hey, you saw that attempt to get something going in Castleton, right? Riley. You can get the Boilermakers to hop on a train and ride down for that, I'm sure. It's only like, what, hour and a half? I've gone to Purdue. I've gone to Purdue for Splatoon. Y'all can cop on down. We're handing out butt whoopings. Me, Allie, Roundy, Pock. Crush all you chumps. You don't need cars. Start walking. That's what I did back in the day. Up and down hills and snow. Every day. That's why they call us the Hilltoppers. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Popcast. Whenever you're listening to this, whether it be live or a VOD, Twitch or YouTube, or Spotify, while you are assuming I'm going to offer an apology to your team today, making a collage of all of the disconnects that happened at Riptide, retiring your Kermit bodysuit from Splatoon lands, whatever it is that you're doing right now. Appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to this. Unless I don't. We are at episode number 240 freaking 6. There are more than 4 years of weekly hour-long videos of me talking into the corner of my room. And we are approaching 250. Do you know I didn't have a beard when this started? I look back and I got this like baby face thing going on. Like, come on. If I'm not going to have any up here, I got to compensate somewhere. What are we going to do for 250 episodes? We got to do something, right? I got some things in mind. I got some big changes in mind. I've been having some talks with some folks about where I see the future of this show going and what I would like it to be and what I would like what I would like it to become at some point. So we're a couple episodes away from possibly the a big change, a big permanent change that I think I don't know. There's some storyboards going on with that, but there's some changes coming, and I'm excited for whatever the future may bring. So be on the lookout for that. Yes, no, we are not revisiting. I have, in the past 4 years, not gone back and listened to the first episode of the Popcast. I know what I talked about. I basically talked about why I was doing this. I talked about, I think it was Little Squid number 5. I talked about an Ash Cup. If you, for the of you who are around long enough to remember what Ash Cup was, I talked about that. I also did like a preview for that upcoming Low Ink. I didn't do like a top 10. I just kind of looked at who was signed up and I just talked about it. It was horrible. I mean, you do this talk by yourself for an hour thing for so long. Eventually, you just get better at it, and eventually, you just get your own kind of routine, and it all just kind of comes natural to what you want to do and what you want to talk about. I mean, this is my script for the day, and I wrote it maybe 2 hours, maybe an hour and 15 minutes. Like it's just, I know what I want to talk about, and I'm constantly writing a podcast over the course of a week, and then Monday comes around, I just put pen to paper, and then we just go. And it just, I never really stopped to think how bizarre it is that that's the way. But I mean, like before some of those early episodes, I would talk for, I would spend like an entire day, like sun up to sundown, writing out or typing out everything I was going to say until I just started figuring out what to do. So changes coming down the road, and no, we're not looking back. You got to start somewhere, though. You don't have to look back at it. News of tournaments may be of interest to the casual listener of the Popcast. 20XX finals are going to be taking place this upcoming weekend. The final 4 teams are set, and they're going to play for an opportunity to bring home some moolah and to be known as the 20XX champion. Obviously, we're going to be talking about that at some point today. You can see the topics we got. 20XX is the first one up top there. As far as like tournaments playing in, I want to highlight there's nothing unique that isn't typically going on this weekend, or if there is, that's not up on Sindao. So just your usual tournaments to play in that far as that is concerned. But make sure you're watching that 20XX. I'm not telling you this is what you're supposed to watch. I'm just going to say that you'll want to, because it's got some cool stuff going on. Also wanted to point out we talked about locals last week. There's another event that I just realized today is upcoming. For those of you that live in the Florida area, I am not sure what part of Florida Gainesville is in, if it's in like the southern part or the middle or wherever, the Keys, whatever of Florida. I have no idea. But Gatorland is be going on, and this is taking place in October, just October 26th and 27th. That is in Gainesville, Florida. The swamp, I guess. There's a whole, it's not just Splatoon, there's a whole heck of a lot of games they have going on here. A bunch of different fighter games. I'm looking at the site right now and Start.g. They got like 15 different games listed here. And Splatoon's one of them. Splatoon has always been there. So if you're looking for Splatoon action at a LAN, Gatorland's a good one to go to. I know there's been people who've gone to it in the past. It's just I don't know. Falco's been talking about that lately, and I was like, wait a minute. I forgot about Gatorland. That's a thing. It's coming up in October. So if you're around those parts, swing by. Check it out. Spectate it at least. Take some pictures of it. Share it. I'll see it. Today we're going to be recapping Low Inc. Gamma, Alpha, Beta, Swiss, not particularly in that order. We're going to be talking about Low Inc. as we typically do on the day after Low Inc. here on the Popcast. All that and more. But first, I finally get a chance. To talk about 20XX. The season is already over as far as the group stage is concerned. Now it's just the playoffs played in one day. And I haven't really talked about it. I hyped it up to going through it, but I didn't really do like a week-by-week analysis. The first week was followed immediately by Riptide, which I did a big, long segment talking about Riptide, Morgano and Siren. There's a whole lot to talk about with Riptide. There wasn't really any time to get through 20XX. Week 2, I did a Friday episode of the Popcast, and there was a gap between week 1 and week 2 to make room for Riptide because a lot of the 20XX players were at Riptide, competed in that. Week 2 was also going on at the same time as Final Fest. Could you make the argument that Final Fest affected viewership for that week? Maybe. Possibly, I don't know. Maybe it could. I don't know. But I didn't really talk about it last week either. I said I was going to talk about it today, and I am. But the group stage is over. Week 3 concluded yesterday, and there's just one more broadcast to go. So let's pause right here before we reflect on the entire season as a whole. Let's kind of just take a pause right here. And let me just talk briefly about the sets that have been going on so far and how we got to the 4 teams that we have. And then we're going to reflect on this group stage as a whole. Has it been successful? Has it reached the goals that it was looking for? Before we do that, let's talk about the matches themselves, because I did a lot of cramming last week. I will admit I did not watch week 1 live. I did not watch week 2 live. But I was commentating yesterday. And I don't like going into commentary sets being like, I don't know anything about these teams, but I'm super excited and really interested to learn about them. No, you should have known something about them beforehand. If they're random pickups and it's an SOS, I don't care what the commentators don't, if they don't know who the players are, because who cares? It's a pickup. But you got to know the information. So I skimmed through every single match that was played from Moonlight and Hidden Low Fan Club and just kind of spot checked all the other matches that were going on just to see if I could find any narratives. And of course, Blue Pencil's a good narrative to kind of stick to with stuff like that. Here's my thoughts. First off, yesterday, Black Lotus with Fluffy beat That Kid Fan Club in a Game 7, and that was a fantastic set. A contender for set of the year with how much back and forth action was on that one. The winner was going to move on to top cut. The loser was going to be eliminated. That ended up being Black Lotus being the team that won in a Game 7 where they had to come from behind at the very end to steal the win from Dat Kid Fan Club, a real nail-biter. I picked Dat Kid Fan Club to win that set, and it was just me and Pat that did. Everybody else picked Black Lotus, and they ended up being right. But with how few people picked That Kid, you would think it'd be not as close as what it was. In fact, there were several moments where you thought Dat Kid was going to win the whole set, and they just couldn't hold on at the very end of Game 7 there. I picked Dat Kid because I wasn't a believer in them, and then they curb stomped a team so bad they dropped out of the league, and then I was like, oh, maybe I should start believing in them. And yeah, they didn't do good in week 2, but this was a bounce back week for them, and they almost bounced back. They just didn't get it done, but I'm still a believer in That Kid going forward. They're pretty doggone good. We'll give them that. Gru, yeah, they're here. They're here. They're undefeated. They're 3-0. They are 12-3 in games this season. They swept BTTX yesterday. It looked like they got kind of bored in that game 4 and decided to bring out Wellstringer instead of Pencil just to shake things up a little bit. In fact, they didn't even use Splattershot. They used no Zuka in that game 4 either, which is a very rare trend in 20XX. The only team that's given them real trouble is Moonlight. Moonlight took 2 games off of them. I believe both of them were Clam Blitz when they played back in week 1. But right now, Guru seems to be the team that is miles above everybody else going into this playoffs. But you would think that wouldn't be the case because Metro is a team that beat pretty much all of those players in Super Jump in dominant fashion. Metro also undefeated going into the playoffs. Had a bye week last week to make up for the team that dropped. Goss announced on Twitter yesterday that they have no internet. Doesn't seem like they're going to have any power of some sort back by the time 20XX kicks off this weekend. So it looks like they're going to be without Goss, arguably their best player. Arguably be one of the best players right now in the West is not going to be playing for Metro. So what's going to happen with that, I have no idea. I don't even know what the rules are at this point. I would assume they would just allow, like, look, we can't afford to drop you at this point. Just find somebody and we'll let you plug in and play and still be effective. You don't really replace Goss, though. So I don't really know how that's going to go. It would have been great to see a full roster Metro versus Guru. It doesn't seem like we're going to get that right now. But it's a long week. We'll see how things shake up. It's not my problem to figure out. That's a good thing. It's to rip the TOs for having to solve that mystery. Moonlight versus Hinlow Fan Club. Fun set. Absolutely fun set. It seemed like Moonlight, one of the rare teams that's competed in this event that's not a pickup, had a better game plan going into that game. Again, another game where if you win it, you move on, the lose, and you go back, you watch the rest of the set over the course of the weekend. But that's these kind of Ludi style sets, or these like 1 week at a time kind of matches. For any of you that play in Ludi, no, they're completely different from a standard weekly tournament. A weekly tournament, you play a team, you beat them, and you don't know who you're playing next unless you looked ahead at the bracket and you're like, okay, cool, this is the team we got. Let's immediately play them. Versus the week-by-week style is, I just got to focus on one opponent at a time. Let's look a little bit deeper into this opponent. What do they like to do? What are some tendencies they like to do? What are some traditional spots? What are some like openings they try to do in specific maps and modes that we can kind of like take advantage of? There's a whole heck of a lot more game planning going on when you just got one opponent to worry about, as opposed to just, all right, who's next? Okay, let's just see how this thing we've been doing the last couple of matches continues to work against these guys. Moonlight looked like they had an actual plan, and that, I think, was the difference in that set right there. When you have, and I've said this many times before, skill beats skill. If I'm better than you, I'm going to beat you 100% of the time. If it's like Notre Dame losing to Northern Illinois, that looks like an upset, but the more you watch Northern Illinois, you're like, oh wait, no, they were actually just better. Like, they just had more skill. Yes, can you trip up? Can you not take a set seriously? Can you meme? Can a brother kick a router downstairs? Something like that? Yes, but not most of the time. If I'm just straight up better than you, I got more skill than you, I beat you. That's how it works in every single sport ever created on planet Earth. When skill level is equal, or close enough, it's comparable within another, that's when strategy comes into play. And that's what we saw with Moonlight versus Hinlow Fan Club. Oh my goodness. That game 6. Bamboo. Bamboo coming out of nowhere. When is the last time you saw Bamboo in your solo queue sets? And if the answer is like, oh, I play it all the time, Popcast, at that point you're playing too much solo queue. You need to stop. You need to stop, because you don't see Bamboo, period. You don't even not even in low ink will you see a team use a Bamboo weapon. It makes seemingly when you're so used to seeing all this other stuff, it just seems to come out of nowhere when you see that. Combined with Nolan, who even back in 2019 was known as a midline player with K Pro, now using 96, now using Squeezer. It's the same kind of concept. Oh, that player's using Dapples out of nowhere as well. What? It was such a bizarre changeup, and I liked it coming out in that game 6 because you remember how that game 5 went. Clam Blitz at the museum. Moonlight was in a race car just driving as fast as they could up against Hinlow Fan Club and sped them up. And that game 6 was supposed to be an opportunity to slow things back down. They didn't get that chance because, oh, look, here's our curveball. Here's our ace in our hole that we've seemingly been holding on to this whole set. We're going to throw it at you right now so you don't even get a chance to get yourself established. We're just going to come and punch you in the face. I love that adjustment. I thought it was really cool, and it seemed to work out really well. Basil was on Twitter, and somebody asked Basil essentially why use bamboo in that set, and Basil basically responded alluding to the fact that we felt like it was a good matchup against the Gal that we knew was going to be coming out of Synapse, which makes sense because everyone should know you should be facing a Gal whenever you go up against Synapse. That's one of the weapons they've been known for a long time. So that tells me this wasn't just something they pulled out of their behinds just randomly. It seemed like they were just waiting for an opportunity to use it. And with game 6, you're allowed to lose that one going into a game 7. You're coming off of win. You got them on the run. That seemed like the perfect time to throw that curveball, that strategy they had ready to go, and it worked out. It worked out, and we're giving them praise for it, and rightfully so. However, this is essentially like punting the ball on your own 30-yard line. If it works, oh, it's a genius play. Wow, why doesn't everybody else do that? This is so brilliant. If it didn't work, though, it would make Moonlight look like a bunch of morons. Like, you would be disingenuous if you didn't go on a show like this and that comp didn't work and not say, what the hell were they thinking? Why would you just completely switch everything up in a set like that? Now you lost that, and then you got steamrolled to game 7. Why would you even consider that? That would have been the narrative, but it worked out, and it worked out really well, so we're going to give them the pats on the back for it. But it does give up a good counterpoint to the question that I brought up last week. Now that the game's done with patches, why are we so opposed to considering banning things? And I've laid out the case for Pencil over the course of this past week. I'm not saying Pencil needs to be banned to save the scene or anything like that. The point I'm trying to bring up is you shouldn't be opposed to those kinds of things because the main argument you had now is gone. What's the next argument you're going to have for that going forward? A good argument to have is the fact that there's 6 gazillion different weapons in this game. And when we're so dead set on like 5 or 6 of them, we kind of miss out the value some of these other weapons bring to the table. And when you get a team like Moonlight who's like, I'm not going to use bamboo every single game against their Gal, but I'm going to find that right time to do it, mix things up a little bit. Not only did they win without using Pencil, that was one of the few games somebody won not just without Ink Strike or a Trip Strike or Ink Zuka, or with a T-Tech or a Splatter Shot. They didn't use a Splatter Shot at all. I think there's only been 3 times in the league. I'll double check that before anything else happens this week. I think that's one of the few times a team won in the league without even using a Splatter Shot. That's the thing. The more you try things outside of the meta, the more you're going to come up with different ideas. Think to Melee. Melee has not gotten a patch update in over 2 decades. And all of a sudden, just now, Donkey Kong is rising up and winning tournaments out of nowhere. Donkey Kong has not been buffed at all in 2 decades. It just takes somebody to come along and make you realize, oh, this is actually pretty good. Nautilus was seen as a meme weapon in Splatoon 2. And then Bagel in the SAC tournament showed us all, oh, actually this weapon is kind of broken. Things change. You just got to be not afraid to try some stuff out. And I know I've been on here and been critical of Cherry Limeade being a little bit too far into the Disneyland, if you try hard enough, anything can happen kind of mentality, because that is not true. But when you just slightly step out into things and see what can work, and it's not just Moonlight did it because, oh, let's just do it to be silly. They had an attack against an opponent. Do I think they're going to use bamboo over the course of this weekend? I do not. And Basil's in chat. I could ask. I'm not going to, because I'm just going to predict without the factor of who they're going up against, they're probably not going to use bamboo. But it's still cool to think that they looked at their opponent and said, how can we beat the opponent versus how can we just do something over and over again that's going to make us the best. That's the advantage these leagues have over these set-by-set tournaments. Unfortunately, for the league as a whole, that comp Moonlight used in Game 6 of Make 'em Art Splat Zones is the most interesting and best talking point to come out of the entire season so far. That is not good. I mean, it's a cool talking point, but it shouldn't be the best. Some of the other talking points surround the fact that Celestial dropped after getting shell-shocked in Week 1 and losing one of their players, and Goss likely seeming doubtful that they're going to be playing for Metro this upcoming weekend. That's pretty much it. That is that's your headlines for the group stage of the season. Success is always incorrectly judged by comparing it to something that is similar. In this case, when you think about the success of 20XX, you're always going to be looking at Ink TV, the league that happened right before this one. That is that's a hard comparison to make, because Ink TV set the standard for what leagues are supposed to be. One of the main issues when you look at that comparison is viewership. Viewership for Week 3 was, with 20XX running the same time as Low Ink Day 2, which is something I have always said on this show. I want people to run their tournaments at the same time as Low Ink. I am never going to be Low Ink weekend, stay away. No, run your tournaments during Low Ink. We want you to do that. Viewership typically on Day 2 of Low Ink is pretty strong. But it should not be strong enough to contend with 20XX. 20XX should have blown us out of the water. It should have made us question if we should have even streamed on Twitch at all. Or if it was just, well, let's just stream to put up the VODs because everybody else is going to be watching this other tournament. The viewers were at the same level between 20XX and Low Ink at the same time. Now, if you look at the views right now on Twitch, Low Ink's probably going to be higher because we streamed longer. They rated us, so we got some of their views. I have no idea how views on Twitch works. Like, if you just look at a VOD that happened, all those numbers, are those some sort of random calculation between who watched it live and who watched the VOD later? It makes no sense to me how that works, so I wouldn't use that as a comparison. But just me commentating that one set and also keep an eye on Low Ink at the same time, the numbers were dead even. That's not good. It should not be like that. 20XX should have been a lot higher. But there we go. So what's the key difference here? Why was Ink TV during their group stages able to get 600-700 viewers live for their final event over 1,000 versus the 130 that were watching that set live last week or yesterday? What are some of the key differences here? First off, the teams. The teams play a huge role into this. And yes, I've been talking about how good it is for 20XX to exist because it can create storylines. Well, we have to acknowledge when we think back to Ink TV that storylines were already there. Ink TV was just able to tell them, to share them with the rest of the world. 20XX is trying to create those storylines. The actual teams you have in this league, Moonlight and Black Lotus, maybe BTDX, maybe you could consider that an actual team. Maybe you should. Celestial is maybe a thing now. They dropped out of the league, so I guess it doesn't really matter. The rest are pickups. Metro sounds like a team name, but as far as I know, Osmosis is still a thing, which Lynn and Zenith were on. So I don't know if like Metro's an actual team. Guru is just a +1 pickup, and it's just a hey, which one of the 7 people we usually play with want to do a 4-person tournament for this league thing. So that's it. You just basically got Moonlight and Black Lotus as the actual legit teams. The rest are going to be pickups that, quite honestly, you're going to forget about. You're going to forget about the fan club teams. And that's not to say they're not memorable or that they don't bring a lot of value to the tournament. They didn't move on to the top 4. They're a pickup. Okay, cool. Moving on to the next thing here. It was the same thing. But Ink TV's teams. What teams played in the Ink TV League? Oh my gosh. Starburst, Crush Soda, Alliance Rogue, Jackpot. Those were the headline teams. Those were the 4 teams. Thrown into that mix was Nightmare, a team that created their own storyline in the qualifiers by beating teams and then immediately throwing hands with them on Twitter right afterwards. Nightmare became the annoying little brother that we couldn't stop talking about for about 3 or 4 weeks. I still remember how that was. Zero Deaths was the other team. You probably already forgot about them. I don't know if those players are still around anymore. We haven't seen a couple of them, or at least I haven't. Graveyard Shift, Penguin. You got some teams you probably forgot about. It's been over a year now. But just those headliners. And think about, again, where we were going into it. Before Ink TV League started, Jackpot was a brand new thing combined from Sayonara, who got absolutely curb stomped by Starburst in that PAX tournament beforehand leading up to this one. So Sayonara disbanded. They stole Madness from Seafoam and then created Jackpot. So the brand new, second go around with this team. So we hadn't seen what they had done yet. The league was able to provide that opportunity for them. Crush Soda was Kyo, and anytime Kyo is a part of any kind of team, they are going to be the headliner. It's like LeBron James. It doesn't matter what pieces you put around them. There's going to be a lot of attention put on that team. That was the preview of what Goss, Wave, and Thunder were capable of, who went on to play with Cream Soda, and actually Crush Soda was able to get a couple of wins in a PAX tournament down the road. Alliance Rogue represented the entire continent of Europe, and at that point they had no name brand win in Splatoon 3, and they were looking for that win that they were desperate for. And if you recall, Starburst was undefeated going into 20XX. They ended up going 48-0 to start off Splatoon 3, and we all thought they were going to curb stomp it. But then you had Alliance Rogue upsetting Starburst, which is probably the most important match in Splatoon 3's history. Might not be topped over the course of the rest of Splatoon 3. You just had so many storylines going on with that one. And ETV did a good job of stoking those storylines and making sure you constantly were reminded about them over the course of the week. There's no real storylines right here in this 20XX that makes you interested in anything other than a team dropping or, hey, I haven't seen that weapon in a long time. That looks pretty cool. So a lot of this is luck too. Like Ink TV got really lucky over the course of their season that they didn't have anybody drop, or that they had actual teams that they could market and promote, which they did. They did a lot of interviews with them. They did a lot of little segments beforehand, just like get to know your kind of players, do a little bit of trash talking between each one of them. There was a lot of different things they did, a lot of work that they put into that kind of thing. But you do have to acknowledge they were really lucky right there. But the fact that 20XX is just a handful of teams and a whole lot of pickups, that's hard. It's hard to do something with that. You have to pretty much promote the individual and not the team itself. And that could be really difficult to do. We haven't really figured out how to do that right now. And honestly, that is why teams like Moonlight and Zest Fest are considered for team of the year, and half of Moonlight is considered for competitive players of the year, because people actually know who they are versus some of these other players who are like, wow, the trophy case you guys are putting up this year is insane, but you have zero presence with anybody outside of this competitive bubble that we're in versus what some of those other teams do. Whew. Another point is the timing of these tournaments. So 20XX has EU teams, obviously, just like InkTV did. EUTOs, Dapple Productions as a whole is just known as the EU organization, and rightfully so. They do a lot of EU specific events. So the primetime slot they go for is Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern time. And they're doing Sunday because they don't want to step on anybody's toes. Taking up a lot of Saturdays at 1 o'clock is rough. So they're doing it to try to be nice to everybody else. And the rest of the TOs should be appreciative of that. It is hurting their viewership, though. I don't think there's a problem with running on Sunday. I just think the 1 o'clock time slot, while it is one size fits all for everybody, it's not like the perfect time to get the maximum amount of viewership. InkTV did Thursday and Friday nights at 6-7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, which is great. That we found, especially with the IPL versus matches, you do those primetime Thursday, Friday night matches, you get hundreds of views. But Dapples can't really do that because, well, for them, most of them, it's going to be like 1 a.m. when they're starting the broadcast for stuff like that. So, of course, they're not going to be able to hit that. But we found over the course of time, weeknight primetime slots for show matches seems to get way more viewerships than the typical Saturday, Sunday, 1 o'clock kind of thing. Even low ink viewerships don't really pick up until about 2, 3, 4 o'clock into those afternoon. Just as the day goes on there. But that's not really something I don't think Dapples can control, just because, again, they want to be mindful of everybody else that's going on in this thing. And yes, it is a jigsaw puzzle that cannot be put together, thinking about all the different tournaments that exist, and all the time somebody goes on Twitter, I'm going to create another tournament. It's like, okay, what tournament that already exists are you just going to steamroll over to make sure your event happens? Like where's the gap that needs to be filled here? It's difficult to do so. Oh boy, comparing is tough, and that is what whenever somebody creates a league, that is what you're always going to be comparing yourself to, is InkTV. And it seems like InkTV out the gate is just too high of a bar to compare anything to right now. In my opinion, for what would make 20XX successful, just get to the finish line. Just get this league done and over with. If you are able to do this, run qualifiers, get your group stage done in a somewhat presentable manner, which they were able to do. They escaped with only one team dropping out of it, and you were to get through your final set, and you're probably going to get a lot more views for the final set. I'm hopeful that they will. There's not a lot that they have to compete against, other than, well, I mean, the Steelers are coming into Indianapolis, but the Steelers are probably going to curb stomp that. We don't need to watch that, okay? We can just turn our heads to something else. There's a lot. I think they're going to do good with this. But just getting to the finish line, that is a huge success for 20XX. This was a big undertaking that they took on, and they're going to be successful with it just by finishing it out. As much as we praise InkTV, as we should, they put on a fantastic league. There is one thing I keep pointing up, and I keep bringing this up because it is so infinitely important. The people who put on InkTV, not a single one of them are still around in the scene. There is not a InkTV 2, is there? You don't see a resurgent league coming up around the corner. They're all gone. And that is what my fear is with these leagues. if you can get through this season and not, and you come away from it with Lit Blue and everybody else that's behind the scenes with Dapple to try to get this one going. If they come out of this one and say, okay, here's what we did good, here's what we can change next time. Here's the feedback we can get from these players who want this league. Let's put this all together and let's try it again next time. If there is a 20XX2, then this was a total and complete success in a way that Ink TV never was. There is no point in doing any of this shit if we are just burning ourselves out at the end. If becoming a TO is a burden on your soul, then that event is a failure. It should not be that way. So hopefully, if that is becoming the case for 20XX, then they surpassed Ink TV in my mind. Is the viewerships there? No. Is the hype around it there? 100% no. It's not even close to being on par. But they took on a challenge that nobody else was willing to take on for a year. And they're getting it to this point. That is success. And I hope it is something that can be built on to where eventually it does surpass that that Ink TV league. And we're in a good hands situation right there. It's difficult to do, but that is my hope. God, I'm not going to make it through this episode. I think I saw like 2 highlighted messages. Maybe 1. Prochara. Lack of teams and everyone running the same thing killed a lot of hype for casuals. Yes, that is... I'm not going to deny that the pencil splatter shot is... It sucks. I mean, we've been seeing pencil for so long. I've talked about it for so long, and I don't think banning pencil is the solution. I think it's on players to kind of come up with other ideas, kind of like what Moonlight was putting out there, that there was other things that they could do to kind of counter specifically what opponents are doing. But it just comes down to players. It comes down to until somebody beats pencil splatter shot without doing it, nobody's going to change. But if you were to come in with a completely different comp and you were to curb stomp everybody, that changes everybody's mind. That's exactly how the NFL works. It's a copycat league. Something works, everybody does it until somebody figures out how to defeat it, and then they're on to the next thing. Nobody's figured out how to beat Pencil's Zuka yet. Nobody. And when it happens, that's when we see the change. But it'll just come down to, is there anybody that even wants to put in the effort to figuring out how to beat it would be the thing. We got to get to low ink before my voice explodes. Before we do that, though, we got to skip on down the road. It's time for the weekly recap. Paddling pool number 285. Oh my gosh. I gotta just show you this. I can't, there's no way in hell I can even begin to pronounce any of this stuff. The team that won it was Zoyo, Always in Our Hearts. Fair enough. The team that finished in second place, Megaphone, Telephone, Gia, Luigi, Buffoon. And the team that finished in third place was Oni, Boni, Kini, Loni. That had to be some sort of spell from Harry Potter. I'd probably just turned somebody into a toad just by pronouncing that out loud. Oh, hey, Symphony. That's not the symphony I know. Oh, hey, Tempest. That's not the Tempest I know. Team names being reused. Those are the teams that did 20XX, or paddling pool number 285. Congratulations to them. My goodness. Woo! SOS number 162 took place on Wednesday night. It was won by Captain Happy Birthday Crew. Happy birthday to Captain Happy there. Brain farting bacteria finished the second place, and Strawberry Cream Donut rounds out your top 3. I could go for a Strawberry Cream Donut right now. That sounds pretty good. About 70 teams played in this SOS, and it was a school night. You guys are a little pop good. It's not a school night in the middle of August. Well, we're in September now, fools. Everybody's back at school except for those of you who are playing hooky to watch the Popcast. Sucks to be you. Hammerhead was won by Ultra Violence. Mako Bracket was won by Valvaran. There's no way I got that right. Lantern Bracket was won by Magic Beans. Triton Cup number 87 was won by Tataris. 4 Kiki took second place, and Shush rounds out your top 3. Good to see Shush back in action. I know they won a Neon Whale tournament, which makes no sense to me. How you have a tournament that's marketed to mid-level, but it's won by a DivX team. What is mid-level anymore? It doesn't actually exist. But EU held serve in their own tournament. They did not allow Shush to come in and dominate from outside the EU region. 26 teams played in this double elimination splat zone only tournament. From the Ink Up, number 61 took place on Friday night before Low Ink, and Moonshine is your champion for that tournament. Coral Convergence took second place, and looks like a pyramid scheme rounds out your top 3. 43 teams played in this Team Friday night low-level skill-capped tournament. To my surprise, there was a tournament that took place that I had no idea about until it was already over. The Glaze Gauntlet number 3 took place on Saturday, I believe during Low Ink. It was won by Zenith, Yoshell, Biscuit, and Atomic. Second place went to Zeres, Yu, Obito, and Gray. And third place went to Arito, Lin, Hinlo, and Pikmin. No idea when this tournament actually took place. I don't even know what the rule restriction were. I looked at the rules on Sindao, and the rules literally said, just don't bug me, and here's what the DC rules are. So that happened, okay? It ended up happening. Somebody's excited about that, I am sure. The NFL, the Rams stunned the 49ers 27-24. They said that loss was unacceptable. I, on the other hand, am accepting it really well. The Vikings spanked the Texans 34-7. The Steelers played the Chargers. The Chargers ended up saying, "Who has it better than us?" Well, apparently Pittsburgh does. They beat them 20-10. And the Chiefs hold off the Falcons on Sunday Night Football 22-17. My fantasy team is 2-1. I lost week 1 because Christian McCaffrey was suspiciously injured out of nowhere, but we go to the transfer portal and we get it done. And that was your weekly recap. Sponsored by everybody who DM'd me to say hi in the middle of Low Ink. Yes, it happened. And no, person who DM'd me specifically saying, how many people DM'd you during Low Ink? I'm not telling you how many people did, but I will confirm that it happened, and I did not say hi back to any single one of them. But I will make them the official sponsor of today's segment of the weekly recap. Who has it better than us? The Steelers. Y'all got to trade Russell Wilson, man. You got to trade him Miami. Trade Russell Wilson to Miami and buy all your stock in Justin Fields and just ride it out. You're set. You are set. Let's talk about Low Ink while we got the opportunity to do so. Winners from the Swiss side of things. Winners from Swiss side of things. Got 10 of them here. First off, I got to give a shout out to Flipside, who went 5-1 in this tournament, getting key wins over the Whip Rays, Chroma, Tidal Disruption, Arctic Dashers, and Aura. They won the From the Ink Up Silver Bracket, and, well, they're not going to get an opportunity to win the gold version of From the Ink Up because they went 5-1 in this tournament and did really well in Alpha Bracket. Nicely done to them. Inkbound went 5-1 in this tournament, getting key wins over Inkception, Adult Swim, Non-Binary Fuss, Forja, and DM Popgun Mid-Tourney just to say hi. Inkbound was in beta bracket the last time that they played in Low Ink. This time around, they, well, spoiler alert, they did really good in Alpha Bracket. We'll talk about them a little bit later. Inception went 4-2 in this tournament, getting key wins over the Cleaning Crew. Death by 100 paper cuts. This is the worst way to go. About halfway there, messing around with this paper. Pokemon Go Next and Microwave Mode. It's good to see Inception get consistent results and finding a way back into Alpha Bracket. Inception is one of those teams that has a lot of low ink experience underneath their belt, and it's going to be sad when they go someday, but they're slowly making their way through it. Aura went 4-2 in this tournament, getting wins over the Deep Sea Preds, Chroma, EU Fish, and Non-Binary Fuss. Weren't really sure what to expect from this team, but they comfortably made their way into beta bracket. So nicely done to them. Title Disruption 5-1, getting key wins over Sheer Cold, Pokemon Go Next, Ultimate Sigma Slayers, Determination 3, and Knuckles, and Colon 4. They beat Determination 3 and then beat Colon 4 right after that. Do we not have a team that has a 5 in their name that could have played in the round after that? Welcome to Alpha Bracket, Title Disruption. Welcome on into Alpha Bracket. Nicely done going 5-1 there. The Ultimate Sigma Slayers went 4-2, getting key wins over Octaves, RAT Black Sea Dragons, Chroma, and Gistra. Omazen is one of the players that was on this pickup for Ultimate Sigma Slayers, tweeting out how happy they were that they made beta bracket for the first time with this team. Well, you did a whole heck of a lot better than just make beta bracket, believe me. Celestial. No, not the team that was playing in 20XX and dropped. They didn't drop so they can play in low ink. Same team, different team, same exact name. They went 4-2 in this tournament, getting key wins over Air 404, Metaphobic, Squidest, and Distracted. I'm pretty sure I read that correctly. They got a 4 right there in the middle of the word distracted. Maybe I got distracted reading it. I don't know. Celestial made it back to Alpha Bracket after they had the drop last week or last month because they didn't have all the players they wanted to actually sign up in time. So, good. Back-to-back tricks to Alpha Bracket. Nicely done to them. Magical Cure Love Shot went 4-2 in this tournament, getting key wins over the Art Supplies. We Aquatic Little Creatures, Loud Noises, and Metaphobic. They started off going 0-2 at the beginning of this tournament, and then they went 4-2 to find themselves into beta bracket. So, yes, you can make the playoffs as an 0-2 team. It can happen. A shout-out to a team that I like to give a shout-out to whenever I get an opportunity to do so, and I found an opportunity to do so right here. Heck yeah, Krill Streak going 3-3, getting key wins over Loud Noises, High Wash, and Distract-Forected. This was the second best team to go 3-3 because they had the second highest opponent win percentage of every team that went 3-3. They found themselves comfortably into Gamma Bracket. Nicely done, Krill Streak. And last and certainly not least, the best winner from the Saturday group stage of Swiss goes out to not Moonlight, but Moonshine. Moonshine went 5-1 in this tournament, getting key wins over Whimsy, Hibiscus, Middle Tennessee State University Skyfall, SGMA on Earth, the only team to beat them, and Mystics Honor Bound. Moonshine won from the Ink Up on Friday. Arguably the best team on Saturday, although they did lose to the 2 Goober, 2 Gash or whatever team. Didn't play day 2. They had the drop. I don't know why they had the drop. I wasn't paying attention to help desk at that time. I just assumed they didn't have the players necessary for that. Man, Moonshine had a really good weekend. It would have been really fun to see them play in Alpha Bracket on Sunday. But I think there's a lot of teams that are wiping their forehead saying, woo, I'm glad they weren't here. Whatever caused them to take the day off, I'm glad they weren't messing around with that. Because they were not messing around last weekend at all. Let's get the bracket up here. Are you guys ready for Lowing to be moved over to Sindal.Inc? I am. I sure the heck am. Where's Gamma Bracket? There's Gamma Bracket. Okay. And screen. Where's the plus button? So we're looking at Gamma, Beta, Alpha, and then we'll call it a day. First off, you always see these buys in Gamma Bracket. That is because teams, when a team drops at any point, like if an Alpha Bracket team drops, we got to move everybody up one. And we always reach out to teams on standby, and it's understandable that you wouldn't have somebody that's just got 4 players ready to go, hoping they can play in the tournament. If I didn't qualify for day 2, I'd probably just take the day off, and if I got a ping at like 12:40, hey, can your team be ready in 20 minutes? Like, I'm kind of at breakfast right now. So it's, even though there's like a gazillion teams to choose from, you don't always find an opportunity to find teams for these last minute things. And I think one of these Gamma teams dropped with like 5 minutes to go, and it's like, okay, there's no way we're going to find a replacement for you. So that's how you usually end up with buys here in Gamma Bracket, but it doesn't really translate to Beta or Alpha. There are some teams I want to give a shout out to. First off, I do want to give a shout out to what bracket? This isn't even the right bracket I'm looking at, right? No, this is, hold on. It's like a completely different. I saw Magical Knight Cure. I was like, yeah, that's right. I'm looking at June. How did I get up in June? We're in September now. Let's get September pulled up here. September Gamma Bracket. There we go. We still have, there we go. Now we got this right. We still have the drops though. And that's why I wanted to point it out, but not 2. We just had the 1 that we had to deal with there. The teams I want to give a shout out to. First off, DM Popgun mid-tourney, just to say hi. Yes, I do got to give a little bit of acknowledgement here. You did beat the Whip Rays. Microwave Mode got the best of you, but you made a little run here, loser's side. We aquatic little creatures, Chroma, Distortion, all fell at the hands of DM Popgun mid-tourney, just to say hi. Microwave Mode 5-0'd them over the course of the weekend. That's a Ludi set. Y'all got swept in a Ludi set by this team. I do got to give a shout out though. Popgun related pickup team names usually suck really bad in Lowing. It is unacceptable how bad some of these Popgun related pickup teams are in Lowing. And to this day, not a single one has made Alpha Bracket, and yet the one JPEG-related pickup team made Alpha Bracket the one time they played. JPEG's 1 for 1. I'm 0 for like 10. So this is still 4th place in Gamma Bracket might be the best that Popgun team has gone, but I feel like I deserve better than this. I feel like I deserve a lot better than this. Also, I will give you credit for the drawing the angry eyebrow. This usually is my genuine face whenever people DM me during Lowing. Although well, no, I wasn't happy to see people say hi to me. I don't like any of you. How about that? Or most of you, I should say. Distortion deserves a little bit of credit right here. They finished tied for 5th place. Got a win over Krill Streak. A scrappy win. The game 5 over Krill Streak. Angel Ink Chocolate Therapy got them 3-1. And then Popgun ended up knocking them out. Distortion went 3-3 last month. This time around, they make a Gamma Bracket and make the most of it, finishing top 5. Nicely done to them. Chocolate Therapy, Night Logic, Seasick, Distortion all fell at the hands of them before Chocolate Therapy decided they were just done playing the game. 3-0 to Shellfire, 3-0 to Microwave Mode. Unfortunate, these things happen. Chocolate Therapy, though, they were in Alpha Bracket last month. I originally did have them in my top 10 until I saw somebody that was better and I took them out. So I remember I had this whole paragraph typed up about them and everything. But a 3rd place finish in Gamma Bracket is a good Sunday, and this was a tournament loaded with Alpha Bracket hopefuls / teams that have been in Alpha Bracket before. So this was a tough Gamma Bracket. Getting 3rd place is not too shabby. Microwave Mode is the team that finishes second place, pushing Shellfire to a bracket reset. They beat up on a lot of teams along the way. Shellfire was actually the only team to defeat them. A couple of wins in Litter side, a lot of wins in Loser side. A good little Sunday for Microwave Mode. They were in Beta bracket last month. This time around, second place in Gamma bracket. Not too shabby. Would like to see them do a little bit better in Swiss so they can find their way in the Alpha bracket, but good things come from teams that do really good in these lower brackets outside of Alpha. Shellfire, they ended up winning this whole one, Microwave Mode being the only team that really gave them trouble. Did drop one game to Chroma, and other than that, not much of an issue outside of things. Shellfire was 4th place last month, and now they're in Gamma bracket. I do not condone / condemn it when teams drop from a lower bracket when they don't make it. Like if you were hoping to win low ink and then you fall to Gamma bracket and you just say, I'm not playing at Gamma. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to hold it against anybody for doing that, but I don't want to condone it either. So I got to give credit to Shellfire for actually playing this out. And they did what they were supposed to do. Win this bracket, which they ended up doing. But obviously they got higher aspirations going forward. Or at least they should have higher aspirations going forward. Higher perspiration, too, probably, when they play in those tournaments. You sub for Chocolate Therapy. They were playing with 2 subs. Oh, gosh. We had to long wait in Losers and went cold. Then we weren't prepared to deal with Microwave Mode. Well, if you're cold, wouldn't you want to play a team called Microwave Mode? That seems like the one team name you would want to go up against. Beta bracket. Let's give a shout out to Rewind. Top 10 low ink team, another team that was hopeful to make it an alpha bracket, decided, you know what, we're going to play in beta bracket anyways. X-Name 2-0, Determination 3, and Knuckles 3-0. Ultimate Sigma Slayers slayed them in a game 5 before Mystics Honorbound knocked them out. Still a good run for Rewind. This will pay off in the long run. You need as many reps as you can get. Magical Cure Love Shot. Gets credit here for making the losers bracket run after Starfish knocked them out. They beat 1, 2, 3, 4 teams in a row in losers bracket, just Pac-Manning their way down until getting eliminated by Honorbound, who knocked out everybody, obviously. Magical Cure Love Shot. I'm begging you. I'm on my... Oh, I'm not, because I don't want to get off of this chair. It's pretty cozy. But your name ruins everything. Your name ruins everything. Make this an A. Get rid of this star. Get rid of this little heart thing here. Just stop it. You're breaking all of our search bars and all of our spreadsheets and everything. I can't with this anymore. I'm begging you, please. I'll rig alpha bracket for you next month, please. Anyways, moving on. Starfish finished 3rd place overall right here, beating Magical Cure, Los Inklings, Kame Konas. Then Ultimate Sigma Slayers just did them in. Mystics Honorbound taking them to a game 5 and beating them right there. So Starfish, if you're wondering who they are, they got 9th place in Alpha Bracket back in May. So this is consistently good Sunday results that they are getting whenever they play in these tournaments. Just not in the bracket that they might be hoping for, but this was a tough team that they actually lost to here. Mystics Honorbound 6-0'd Ultimate Sigma Slayers. Yikes, who knocked out Honorbound? They spent a long time in losers bracket. Kame Konas knocked them out in a game 5. Wow, Honorbound played a lot of Splatoon. They played a lot of Splatoon on Saturday. When you get a set like this with 6-0, what that tells me is somebody had a lot of momentum and the other team was either cold or out of gas or needed subs, or somebody's mom told them they had to stop playing the game or something like that. But this is a butt whooping just by looking at the score. But I'm feeling there's a story behind this butt whooping that I don't know about. To give credit where credit is due, Ultimate Sigma Slayers, I talked about how Omazin was talking about how happy they were to make beta bracket. Well, they made the most of this opportunity, getting a lot of wins and finishing second place overall. A lot of these players getting some of the best results they've ever had playing in this tournament. So nicely done to them. But Honorbound has spent a lot of time messing around in Gamma bracket, getting 9th place, getting 11th place. Well, this time around, they have a beta bracket championship to their name, and beta bracket champions always do good the next month. Is Honorbound a top 10 team? Coming soon. What? What could it be? What could it possibly be that is coming soon? I have no idea. But they get a beta bracket championship right now. That's going to have to do for the time being. Highlighted nonsense in chat here. Magical Cure Love Shot is a song title. Changing it would be inaccurate. You don't have to change the. Oh, does the song title have the symbols like that in there as well? That's unfortunate. I'll listen to the song. I called them out for having a horrible name for a long time, but I got to be fair to it. Splutty says, please let us know when October Low Ink is right now so I can actually get the day off. No, I'm not going to tell you that. How about that? Maybe just tell your bosses not to put you on work for the weekend. Another answer I could give you is I don't even know what that is. I'm sure we got it written down somewhere, but okay. So quick side note, because we do get that a lot. When is the next Low Ink? We don't announce it until the first day of the month. That is because even though we have it put down in a calendar, a lot of the TOs outside of IPL can see, we never really fully commit to that date until it actually happens. So like we'll sit down in January and we'll plot out the dates for Low Ink for the entire year. And then when we actually get to that month is when we sit down and say, okay, is this date work for us, or should we give up that date for something else? I think there was we don't even know 100% what the date is, even though we have dates in mind and already kind of blocked out. We do our best to try to work things around for everybody, as every TO should. Alpha bracket. I didn't watch a lot of this live because I was doing 20XX and starting the game plan for 20XX, but I didn't have to watch a lot of it to get a sense of what's going on right here. First off, yes, to Goober, to Gadash, I'm sorry. I put you in honorable mention because you're a pickup, and I didn't really know what to expect from you, and I felt like there was a lot of teams that were deserving to get a little bit higher up in the standings, and you proved me wrong that you were better than pretty much this whole alpha bracket is just everybody that I put in honorable mention. It looks like across the board right there. Celestial I didn't put in because they signed up later than what I actually did, but I'm sorry to Goober, to Gash. It looks like you guys were literally going to curb stomp this entire tournament. In fact, the only ones to beat them was the team that won the whole tournament in a game 5. Who knocked them out? Royalty did, but Royalty was just not going to lose yesterday until they finally did. But to Duber, to Dash, I didn't believe in you. And after I saw your comp on stream, I now really don't believe in you. What the hell is that? Dapples and Paintbrush? Are you serious? What is going on with that? But yes, fair enough. You proved me wrong. What in the world was that? I forgot Paintbrush was even a thing. I'm sorry, okay? I also want to offer an apology to a team that I was legit going to talk about but didn't. Delicious Steak Dinner. I wanted to give them a shout out, not because I thought they were going to do good, which they ended up doing good. I'm pleasantly surprised they were actually good. Beating Remix and Flipside 2-1 before Forja was able to knock them out. But the reason I was going to give Delicious Steak Dinner a shout out is because I love their team tag. I feel like it's appropriate. The team tag they have is just 3 M's. Delicious Steak Dinner. And they have a Twitter account I saw recently, so they're an actual team. No, they have a Blue Sky account. That makes them above an actual team. That makes them delicious. So I'm sorry. I'll believe in you next time, even though I shouldn't have. Blake Spruter. Blake out Blake out Spruter. Um, I don't want to comment on things that I've heard because I don't think it's fair, but I have seen people say that Blake Spruter was having a fun weekend. Let's just leave it at that. How about? And if that was the case, they are really good when they're just trying to have fun. I put them in honorable mention because again, they've been all over the place since Luda came out. Well, they took care of business here. They made Alpha Bracket. They got a win against Delicious Steak Dinner. Two Goobers said, you need to go and dash your way through Losers Bracket. They beat Cullen number 4, and then Royalty did them in a game 3. So shout outs to Blake Spruter. If they're back for real, they're black. They're black. Yes, they blacked out is what the blackout Spruter, is that what they're going with right there? Fair enough. Forja. Forja de la Comadad. Forja here, the team that made a pretty decent loser run, Team Celestial and Delicious Steak Dinner. Goober 2 Dash, I will give them credit though. They avoided this trap that Title Disruption Kips fell for, and so many teams. Both these teams that lost this round last week immediately lost this one month. This round 4 of Losers Bracket is always a trap. 2 Goober, 2 Gash almost lost it, but they didn't fall for the trap, but they end up getting knocked out right here. So Forja, as I was seeing on Twitter, I think there's a couple players on the team Calamity Forge Neo that are pleasantly happy this team did not win so that they didn't get the Shiver Me Inklings awkward moment of, well, half my team is banned from Low Ink, so do I make another team and win it or what? Like, what do we do now? We're not banned from Low Ink. We weren't on that team, so that pickup ended up working out. Was that essentially what your message is? Yes, it is. Forja is a Calamity Forge Neo pickup with old members. Yes. I got that sense from Twitter. Were they the number 1 seed in this? Yeah, but I mean, seeds in Alpha Bracket seeds in any of these things don't really mean anything. Oh, Inkbound, the team that finished in 3rd place. What a good run for these guys. Played in a decisive game 3 against Inkception, beat them. Decisive game 5 against Flipside, beat them. Title Disruption, who just knocked off the number 1 seed, beat them 3-1, and then ran into the buzzsaw that it buzzed everybody to pieces there. Inkbound taking 3rd place overall. Inkbound, bless your hearts. I gotta give you credit for using Hydra. I big Hydra fan. But good luck using that thing outside of blowing. Oh my gosh. But hey, you know what? Hydra in Splatoon 2, I will to this day say Hydra in Splatoon 2 eliminated K-Gal. K-Gal was so very annoying to fight in Splatoon 2. Object Shredder Hydra made K-Gal not exist. You couldn't throw your ink wall. If you pop Booyah Bomb when I have it full rev, you're not going to get your Booyah Bomb off. I'm going to destroy you beforehand. Are there any uses for Hydra in Splatoon 3? No. there's not, but you build a team around it and you make it work. You can find ways to get it done. I'm rooting for you, Inkbound. As a Hydra main myself, I hope to see it be successful in tournaments. I'm not holding my breath, though. Got to give a shout out to the team that finished 2nd place. Royalty. And this team came out of nowhere as far as I'm concerned. Beat Celestial. And then SGMA on Earth. 3-0 like they did a lot of teams. By the way, the real championship set, I think, was right here. And I'm glad this one got to be put on stream. This was the tournament on the line at this point. But in the loser side of bracket, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 matches, with the first 3 going to a game 3. This must have been a beyond stressful run for Royalty here, and they kept finding ways to win until they finally forced their way back into a rematch against the team that 3-0'd them yet again. But Royalty, if you're wondering who they are, I believe they made beta bracket last time. I believe that's what the notes that we had on them were. But this is a heck of a run for them, and you got to take opportunities when they present themselves. Look at Gamma and Beta bracket. It's loaded with teams that were in Alpha bracket either last month or have been in before. You are never guaranteed to get another shot at Alpha bracket. This may be Royalty's only opportunity to win low ink, and it might have come and gone. But they still did something memorable and something that is going to grow their team going forward with what they accomplished right there. So nicely done with that. For the team that ended up winning this one, SGMA on Earth, yes, we always give the stigma of, well, they're from Australia, so that's the gimmick that they had. Well, yeah, they also were like in chat a little bit like before the week started and be like, do we really have to play at 3:30 in the morning? It's like, yeah, I can't make the Earth smaller. I can't move where we live. If you're an Australian team and you want to win this, you're going to have to play at the crack of ass on Monday morning. And they did. And they took care of business. The only team to beat them was Moonshine, who got eliminated. But Moonshine only beat them 2-1. But they were, whatever they put in their coffee just worked for them that day. They're winning. They're moving on to whatever life is after low ink. So congratulations to them. Thunderbolt says, yeah, my pin's heart rate got to 150 at some point in those game threes. That doesn't, I don't think it's supposed to be getting that high. You need to go see a doctor maybe. I don't know. But still, congratulations on your run anyways. You know what? Stressful Splatoon is fun to look back on, and for some people it's a lot of fun to play in. It is a lot of fun for me to play in, but I remember when I played in tournaments, I would need a long time after that tournament to just settle myself back down. I was not good at playing in SOS because as soon as SOS is done, it's like I can't just go to bed after this. Like I need a long time to just kind of like mentally bring myself back down. Jordan Pie, I predicted Sigma on Earth to win it all. They've been around for a few months. Won Flutie from the Ink Up, quickly got to the podium, blah, blah, blah. They're on the rise, not stuck, blah. All right, cool. Nice. You got them. You have no idea how crazy we were after that 2 Cooper 2 dash set. I don't know how crazy you were. Well, that make me crazy. If you'd like to be a part of the podcast in any way, feel free to reach out my socials below. Twitter, Mr_Popgun. Discord at Popgun. YouTube at 25 Popgun. Twitch at Popgun25. Anchor.fm/Popgun. Blue Sky at Popgun as well. Make it Blue Sky accounts. Blue Sky's fun. Be like delicious steak dinner. Or delicious steak meal. They got a Blue Sky for their team. I'm not following it, but I know it exists. Have a good weekend. Get vaccinated. Stay safe. And enjoy this upcoming fall weather.